Did you know that 99% of the DNA found on a human body is not human DNA? It's from microbes. Today, we're going to be talking about the microbiome. What even is it? And then go into 3 ways that you can support yours, because spoiler alert, you do want to support it. So the microbiome is basically the community of little critters that live all over us. Things like bacteria, viruses, fungi, protozoa, and even some parasites. I know what you're thinking, that this sounds like literally a recipe for food poisoning, and you're not entirely wrong. Like, there are definitely some bad bugs that can make us feel not so great, but for the most part, these guys are our friends. When I say they live all over, I mean we've got a microbiome of our eye, of our nose, of our mouth, of our skin, and one of the largest groups we'll find of these little critters is in our large intestine. That is the microbiome that you hear a lot of people talking about. This we'll refer to as our good gut bugs, or our gut microbiome. We have sort of a you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours relationship with these gut bacteria. But if I'm honest, I think the humans got the better end of that deal. Like, all we gotta do is give these gut bugs a place to live and some food, and they do a ton for us in return. They make vitamins like vitamin K and a ton of the B vitamins, help us absorb minerals more easily from our food. They make food for the cells of the large intestine, help us metabolize and break down toxins and pesticides. They act as a front-line of defense for our immune system, and they probably wash the dishes too if you asked them. The least we can do is be good hosts. So let's go through 3 ways that you can support your microbiome. First thing you can do is eat fiber. These little critters like to eat fibers and other compounds in the foods we eat. Foods that contain these compounds are called prebiotic foods. These are things like vegetables, including starchy vegetables, fruits, nuts and seeds, legumes, so beans and lentils, whole grains, and even polyunsaturated fatty acids. One of the cool things about eating prebiotic foods is that you're not only supporting the good gut bugs, but you're also reducing the bad ones, so you're keeping your microbiome nice and balanced. Some of my favorite prebiotic foods are things like avocado, chia seeds, onions, potatoes, and all the fruits. So you've heard the saying, if you build it, then they will come. Well, in this case, it's if you feed them, then they will stick around. So by eating prebiotic foods, you're cultivating a pretty comfortable home for these gut bugs. So now that you've got the buffet set up, let's invite more critters to this party. The second thing you can do to support your microbiome is incorporate fermented and cultured foods. In addition to the prebiotics, these foods actually contain the little critters themselves. So these foods are known as probiotic. So by eating these foods, you're not only supporting your colonies in number, but also in diversity. For example, there are over 161 different known species of critters in miso, which is fermented soy paste. So humans have been using fermentation and culturing of foods for a very long time as a means of preservation, way before the refrigerator was invented. If you think about it, we've actually been living side by side with these microbes for quite a while. So foods in this category include things like yogurt, lebanon, kefir, cottage cheese, kombucha, sauerkraut, kimchi, miso and tempeh, olives, and even pickles if they are brined and not in vinegar. Quick word to the wise, if you're not used to eating these prebiotic and probiotic foods, then you should start incorporating them slowly into your diet. They can cause some gas and bloating. That being said, these should go away within a week or so, but if they don't, or they start to worsen with eating these foods, then you should reach out to your healthcare provider or nutritionist. The third thing that you can do to support your microbiome is take a hike, or at least just spend some time outdoors. While the research on the relationship between our microbiome and our environment is still ongoing, we do know a few things. We know that people who live in rural areas with much closer proximity to nature have a more diverse microbiome than people who live in cities with less access to nature. There are a few hypotheses that point to a more diverse microbiome as being protective when it comes to certain conditions like allergies and asthma, especially in childhood. But there is hope for us city dwellers. While there hasn't been too much research on this, there was one study that showed that spending even an hour outside in an urban park increased the diversity of the microbiome of the skin, at least in the short term. While more research is needed on this to determine if there's a correlation between spending time outside and a long-term change in our microbiome and what that means for our health, there is another reason that spending time outside can be good for the microbiome, and that is relaxation. When I say spending time outside, I also mean disconnecting from the obligations of day-to-day life. So in this sense, spending time outside is also a tool for stress management. This is an interesting catch-22. We know that managing our stress well can actually help support a healthy microbiome, and we know that a healthy microbiome can help us manage stress well. So stress can alter the microbiome by decreasing the amount of good gut bugs we have, which could potentially lead to an increase in the amount of inflammation we have. And then on the other hand, research points to the fact that some of the bacteria found in our gut microbiome actually helps us manage our stress hormone levels. So while it may not have been your first thought, spending time outside can absolutely help support a healthy microbiome. Our microbiome may seem small, but it sure is mighty. Beyond just digestion, our microbiome can play a role in everything from mental health and mood, to skin health, to liver health, to cardiovascular health, and even play a role in conditions like autoimmune conditions, IBS, allergies, and there is so many more. By being gracious hosts and keeping our microbiome in mind when it comes to our food and lifestyle, we can keep them happy, which in turn will keep us happy. These three things are just scratching the surface. There are so many ways that we can support a healthy microbiome, and I will get into those in future posts. For now, I hope you found this interesting. Maybe you learned something. Feel free to drop a comment or question below. As always, full blog post with cited sources is on my website, superdigestible.com, as is information about working with me as a nutritionist. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time for some more gut stuff.